Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar hosted by Webgains on Get the Edge on your 2018 affiliate campaigns with a Marginal Gains effort. My name is Mustafa from Performance In, and I'll be monitoring today's session, which is hosted by the network's international publisher, Director Amy Spencer. How are you this afternoon?
Good, thanks Mustafa.
Cool. So before we begin, I'm just going to go a quick over course of what we're going to go over in the next 30 minutes. So Amy will be covering a number of approaches publishers as well as networkers and other people that work with publishers can adopt to tackle some of today's challenges happening in the affiliate market, as well as the need to identify your core client mix, potential new partners, and as well as sort of working smarter thinking and planning over the course of 2018. Throughout the presentation, you can send Amy your questions using the webinar dashboard or toolbar, which as you can see on the dashboard, there's a questions icon. So you just hit the triangle below, should be a chat box, and you should be able to sort of enter your questions. And then at the end, I'll pass on as many as possible to Amy to answer at the end of the session. Please do get involved and ask away and make the most of Amy's time this afternoon. Any questions we don't get around to ask, I'm sure Amy will be happy to answer over email.
Yes, of course.
So yeah, without further ado, it's over to you, Amy.
Great, let's kick this off. This session is targeted to publishers, including new entrants into the industry, but also relevant to account managers that might be thinking about how to improve the way they work in 2018. So today I'll be giving an overview of the concept of marginal gains, its sporting roots, and why Webgains feels it's relevant. I'll be touching on how this approach can influence the way you plan for the year ahead, as well as more granular topics, including the positioning of your marketing campaign, client mix, and marketing collateral. My objective is for you to leave with a fresh approach to tackling some common affiliate-related topics and for you to challenge yourself on what having a marginal gains mindset means for you. So let's begin with the marginal gains concept, an approach we at Webgains strongly believe in and practice every day. It has revolutionized some sports, and the same approach can also bring important changes to the way we do business. In a nutshell, it's a concept of continuous improvement, small incremental gains, and personal efficiencies. It's that extra 1% you can challenge yourself on every day. It's an understanding that these small wins that you can see each and every day equate to slow gains, which combined can add up to larger wins. So when we drill down into some specific examples of small changes you can focus on, always remember that you don't have to implement everything at once. Focus on just one little improvement that you can do and implement tomorrow. Then think about the next thing you can do the following day. This approach isn't a secret, but does it actually work? One of the most publicised UK examples of this in action has been seen in professional cycling. In 2010, David Brailsford, Performance Director of Great Britain's professional cycling team, Team Sky, stood in front of a challenge. Never had a British cyclist won the Tour de France, and he made it his mission to change that. His approach was very simple. He searched for 1% improvements in everything his team did. He developed a culture that challenged everything and focused on improvements on all levels. His belief was that if you improved every area related to cycling by just 1%, then those small gains would add up to remarkable achievements, which it did. In practice, that meant that besides things such as better nutrition or weekly training programs, he also looked for 1% improvements in tiny areas that you wouldn't expect. Whether that meant discovering the pillow that offered the best sleep, testing for the most effective types of massage gel, or teaching riders the best way to wash their hands to avoid infection. In total, they racked up over 6 Grand Tour victories to date and 38 medals in the last 3 Olympics. So what does this mean for you, and how can you improve the way you work by just 1% every day? Business model aside, and regardless of your publisher type, I think it's important to be clear with what it is you're trying to achieve. For Webgains, it's to be a high-performance affiliate network of choice. Whatever yours is, the start of the new year is often a good time to take stock and reflect on your performance and to cement your goals clear in your mind. Start by actually setting the goal itself and work out where you want to be in 6 or 12 months' time. Research shows that still 83% of us don't actually set the goals. So take this first step by starting here. Secondly, write your goal down and share it. You'll be 3 times more likely to achieve it. And thirdly, make it part of your everyday. The marginal gains approach means we shouldn't just think about the end goal, but the steps involved to get it there every day. At Webgains, we live by the philosophy of less hands, more brains. This means when we are trying to find efficiencies in the way we work to reduce admin work so that we can focus on the fun stuff, the more creative or analytical tasks that uses our brains and help us to achieve the goals we set. If you feel like you're not always on top of your workload, or perhaps your to-do list is becoming unmanageable, try to make time to address some of these challenges early on and then understand what you can do to streamline your workflow. This could be as simple as buddying up with a colleague to help identify areas you could be working more efficiently. Identifying the areas you should focus on will be unique to you, but it's worth saying it doesn't have to require a drastic change in structure or your workflow. It is about the small changes each day. For me personally, the following 4 points were key to improve my efficiency. Probably over 65% of my time was spent responding to emails, sometimes back and forth unnecessarily. Streamlining conversations to avoid long email chains, picking up the phone more regularly, and where feasible, a few templated emails had significantly cut this down. Getting smarter with planning my calendar, such as trying to keep a set day for external meetings and focusing on travel time versus the importance of meeting face-to-face, has also helped me claw back time for other tasks. And thirdly, reducing team admin tasks. Perhaps for you, this could be anything from how you upload content to your website, filtering and managing email promotional comms from affiliate programs, or how you review competitor activity. And finally, establishing shared workflows with different colleagues and using planning tools such as Trello can streamline your day. Making it a habit and structuring things such as weekly meetings around planning tools also helps ensure adoption. The results for me mean that I feel more comfortable about juggling different projects, and at the same time I have clear deadlines set and shared with others. What task can you become just 1% more efficient in each day? So let's look more specifically at how this applies to affiliates. In the next few slides, we've highlighted 5 topics that you could explore to challenge yourself on. Being just that little bit better than you were yesterday could help give you the edge over competitors. Ask yourself what you think the current industry perception is of you and your company. Is it clear what you stand for and what you're trying to achieve, or are there other things you could do each day to improve this? There are thousands of affiliates working in the UK, so ensuring you have a voice and strategy to increase your presence is important. Webgains has over 200,000 affiliates signed up to our platform worldwide, and we see the biggest success coming from those who are engaged with our account managers and clients and invest time to grow the partnership. Having a more proactive approach to attending industry events, such as setting clear objectives, will help ensure you get the most out of them. Being more vocal within the industry through sparking conversation and debate ahead of a conference, and joining forums such as the Affiliate Cockpit Facebook group, or commenting on performance in articles, are ways you can build on your industry presence. Be the one who actually does follow up with contacts after an event, but plan ahead and make sure you've factored in a few hours the following day to do this. These things can help build your network and encourages you to challenge different approaches. Another area to consider is your approach to working with your network and how you choose to communicate with them. Do you already have a checklist that you work through each month, and do you actually go through it? Ticking these points off are the marginal gains you can see. For example, are your contact details up to date, and does the publisher manager at the network have a clear go-to person in the team? Do the account managers know who is managing which accounts, and is it easy for them to reach out? Sending weekly or monthly opportunities can help ensure you're front of mind and could secure you last-minute investment from a brand. Try and be creative and keep opportunities fresh, whether that's focused around seasonality, user-orientated, or creative ideas you've devised yourself. Share your targets and objectives with the network to ensure we're aligned. Working closely with one of the publisher managers at Webgains could help identify steps within the network to help you get there. Also, don't forget to share the latest marketing material you have. That could be your marketing, your media kits. It could be a one-pager summary of your business model and USPs. and success stories. Don't also forget to sign up to the network newsletters. Sent bi-weekly, our newsletter updates are packed full of blog content, latest partners working with us, and details of up-and-coming Webgains events. A solid relationship can be the foundation for greater things later down the line. How you develop key relationships will shape your client mix. Question why you have invested time into certain partnerships, and why do some brands drive more revenue? What is it your audience likes about them? Could you change the time you invest in certain brands to grow others? For instance, it's easy to spend a large amount of time on demanding clients, but does that make sense for your business objectives? Once you're clear on the client objectives, working closer with the AM at the network could help position your campaign more effectively. Asking simple questions such as, does that client have a particular way of working, could help you plan activity and give you more visibility on where you should focus efforts. Don't be shy to show your passion for a particular brand as well. Be a brand ambassador by sharing creative ideas to support the brand's strategy. It's a great way to develop the relationship and can mean you get access to more brand material and insights to help you build your campaign or tell your story. At Webgains, we work with a number of content sneakerhead affiliates that have successfully established incredibly tight relationships with our sports brands. In return for being considered a true brand ambassador, they get access to insights such as new trainer releases, which they can use to their advantage. Identify the small things you can do differently to competitors by making it clear what you're offering. Be transparent with expected reach, positioning, and forecast. For example, is it clear where the brand will be promoted on your site and how long this exposure will last, and what the results are they can expect so they can work this back to an effective ROI? From tomorrow, can you provide any additional stats or forecasts for every proposal you send off? You could also explore pushing a retail in a different category to usual. For example, perhaps traditionally the brand has been placed within the clothing sector, when really they may be more suited to gifting. Are there insights your audience can tell you to shape your campaign? Being proactive and making an example to also always follow up with a campaign summary after exposure has run, even if it's a regular placement, can set you apart. It's the stuff that many people say they do, but actually don't. If you make it easy for a brand or the account manager to work with you, they are more likely to reach out with last-minute budget or exclusive promotional campaigns, and your overall relationship will be stronger. As we know, with new clients, first impressions do count, but consider some of these points before you reach out. Networks sit on a lot of data that can help provide insight into which new clients you should be working with. Discussing a priority list based on your objectives can help streamline focus. Depending on your audience profiles and seasonality, exploring mid-tier clients can also be time well worth spent. You may find these brands are more flexible and have scope to trial activity, whether that's PPC rights, an exclusive code, or tenancy investment. From here, why not turn this into a case study and support conversations with the more trickier clients you're yet to work with? It can take a lot of time to build relationships, and this is a challenge with scalability, but investing in this on a regular basis can make all the difference. Be creative and consider the personal touches and pay attention to details, whether that's congratulating on the brand if they've launched a new marketing campaign or perhaps recently won an award. Email can also be quite one-dimensional sometimes, whereas picking up the telephone could be more personal. But if it is email you have to use, can you start with something more genuine that leaves a lasting impression instead of the usual hope you're well? And finally, help manage expectations of new clients and be realistic by taking a longer-term approach. This will ensure you have a stable plan for a brand and could allow the opportunity for you to test different exposure before launching into the strategy. We all have financial targets that we're all trying to achieve, and approaching tasks with this in mind can help us work more efficiently. Do you know who your most competitive advertisers are in each sector? And does this reflect the time that you spend in them? Could you prioritize the portfolio you manage more effectively based on this? Why not do a direct test between an advertiser offering a high CPA but currently has a lower demand versus a larger brand who generates more demand but only offers a lower CPA? Should you invest time into optimizing traffic for the advertiser on higher CPA or focus on negotiating a tiny increase for the brand with more demand? Some advertisers might have strict constraints for tenancy investment. If you've struggled to get tenancy budget signed off for a package of exposure, could you try and work out the effective CPA you would need to secure in order to generate the same revenue overall? In the long run, having a flexible approach could allow more budget to be signed off and help grow revenues from the program. If you are asking for tenancy to support an exposure package, be prepared to be more transparent on costs. Share impressions, click-through rates, and previous campaign analysis to support. Take time to use the data available to spot potential leakages, such as if you're driving a large volume of mobile traffic for a brand, are your customers being promoted to download the advertiser's app where there may be no tracking in place? Or are you promoting a market-leading offer where another partner has PPC rights, and is this affecting your performance? Using data insights could help you negotiate stronger commercials. Challenge commercials you work to every day and see if there are marginal gains you can make that will add up. Finally, never stop learning. Challenge to learn something new every day and improve your knowledge by just 1%. Don't forget there are many resources out there to help you develop, to help with your development, starting with, but of course not limited to, the Webgains Academy. This is a free resource accessible online. Simply go to Webgains Academy and sign up. You can do a range of modules starting from the basics right up to the latest trends. Give it a go. And finally, to keep it up, make it part of your daily routine and try to schedule time in for development. So a lot of what we've discussed has been about the small stuff. Being clear with your objectives, focusing on simple adjustments you can make each day to master good habits, and challenging yourself so that you don't become complacent to find those 1% improvements. In doing this, you will also inspire others to do the same. I'm going to leave you with a closing remark from Brailsford. We should think small, not big, and adopt a philosophy of continuous improvement through the aggregation of marginal gains. Forget about perfection, focus on progression, and compound the improvements. So what does 1% mean for you all? Thank you very much for listening.
Cool. Thanks, Amy, for a very insightful session, particularly with the 5 topics you've gone over in terms of having a marginal gains mindset to run a successful campaign. So we're going to do some questions over the next 5-10 minutes. So as mentioned earlier, please feel free to send your questions through the webinar dashboard, either with questions or the chat section. So we've got a couple here just to kind of kick things off. So kind of what's the main thing publishers tend to overlook when embarking on an affiliate campaign, or kind of what's the kind of most common mistake, would you say?
Good question. I think, budget conversations do often play a part. So like I touched on, being the one to be proactive and, firstly being very clear what it is you're trying to get. So if if you've outlined a exposure package, is it, very clear what that brand should be receiving in return for the payment? And are you taking a flexible approach to the payment models versus, it could be CPA versus tenancy or hybrid. So making it really clear to the brand what's involved in that exposure package, I think, is really important.
Cool, good stuff. And what would you say is the sort of biggest barrier in entering the affiliate space for publishers currently?
Personally, I think the language we use can be a barrier and very confusing. The different acronyms, even CPAs versus, names for publishers, affiliates, advertisers, brands. So I think, we're very aware of that at Webgains, and we've invested quite a lot of time into support guides for our affiliates and starter packs to help them get started. And also the Webgains Academy is also quite a good tool to get the basic principles to build upon. So I'd say that's partly it. And also just, I guess, making it easy for publishers to know what they need to do to get started to start earning revenue.
Cool. Sort of kind of the 5 topics you kind of went over in regards to setting a sort of marginal gains mindset. Would you say kind of provide some 1 or 2 examples of brands who kind of already kind of adopting that kind of mindset?
I mean, yeah, it's very specific to the brands that you're pitching to, which is why, you know, I think sometimes it's important to not to overlook some of the mid-tier brands as well, because there can be a lot of hidden gems in there that may be very relevant for your audience. And if your goal is to be working with, you know, the top tier brands, you know, is there some really nice case studies you can look to pull together through other brands to support your argument or what you're trying to kind of offer larger brands? So I think, you know, in terms of specific brand examples of other brands adopting the marginal gains mindset, I think, you know, there are brands out there, but I mean, it's all the small stuff that we've been talking about. But I think the main thing is making it part of your everyday and making sure that you try and stick to it. It's very easy to say all this stuff, but, you know, whether or not you actually kind of put it into practice, that's when you will see it add up, and that's when you'll see the impact. And you can see it in other ways of working as well. If you look at how tech teams are formed and trying to work in a more agile way, you know, it's using very similar principles in terms of, you know, it's the small things that you do every day that are quite easy to change as well. And so it keeps you agile, and it means you can be more reactive to different, I don't know, things changing in the industry or brand needs. So I think it does embed other kind of approaches as well with it, which is important.
Cool. So we've got one question through here. So question here says, I have 30,000 fans on Facebook promoting GIF experiences and venues. Great interaction, lots of traffic, but suspect. Fans then go off and Google Direct for better deals. What can be done to increase conversion so they can go through me and not back direct to the venues?
I suppose so. From that perspective, it is all about, you know, how strong is your relationship with different brands? What can you negotiate that might be different for you to be able to secure, so that you can offer your audience something extra so they do stick with you? I mean, my example of how some of the sneakerheads are working with some of the key brands in the space is quite key. You know, they're able to create some really authentic content. You know, they live and breathe the brands that they're promoting, and in return, those brands offer them exclusive content. They give them access to, you know, new trainer releases, and it's a really strong relationship. So if you are, you know, a social influencer and you've got fans on Facebook, you know, you're already in a really, really strong place. So if there's a particular brand that suits that audience, you know, having a conversation with them to find out what you can offer, or sorry, what that brand can offer you to give your audience is a really good place to start.
Cool. Yeah, just to highlight, that question was from Alison. So yeah, good question, cool. And good answer.
I can see there's another one there. Are there any specific types of publishers you're seeing more entering into the channel within the last half year or so? And I would say, you know, it's a similar kind of theme to the previous question, that we're seeing a lot more content and especially influencers starting to play a larger role in the affiliate space, which is great. And it's great to see the kind of publisher mix diversifying. And I think there's still a challenge for the industry to ensure we're rewarding different publisher types appropriately. But I think as long as there's a relationship there between the affiliate, the network, and the brand, and advertisers can see the impact, whether that's increased traffic or, you know, fantastic authentic content being produced, the rest of it can be negotiated. And I think, you know, it is, like we said, it is about developing that relationship with the key people that are holding kind of the budgets and the opportunity to secure exclusive content.
Cool. Just got one more question through. So Michael's just said, will this presentation be shared? Yes. So we are currently recording this session, and it will be published on Performance's website tomorrow. So from there, you can rewatch and re-listen and sort of share it among your peers. So I think that's kind of all time we have for today. So thank you, Amy, for giving a wonderful presentation on having a marginal gains mindset. And thanks again, listeners, for tuning in. Is there anything else you would like to say before we sign off?
No, great. I just, I challenge you all to think about what you can do differently for the rest of the day and tomorrow, and try and put some of these very kind of simple things into play.
Cool. All right. Thanks again, Amy, and enjoy the rest of your week, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye.